I kind of look like Ahsoka with my hood up like this.
You do. Weird.
So, Chapter 13, The Jedi.
The Jedi. So then, Jedi and Yoda lore. This is the way. Everything Mando has done. Find Ahsoka Tano. Now!
Yeah, it just kind of showcased everything Mando's gone through with the child, trying to find him a home, all the sacrifices he's made, and the hardships, I guess. And he was told to find Ahsoka Tano. And we are dumped on a crappy world.
This world sucks. Except for Ashoka.
It kept auto-correcting to Ashoka. I can't remember how her name is spelled.
It's A-H-S-O-K-A, I believe. There might be an H at the end. I don't know.
There's some random consonants that aren't pronounced in there.
Now, Ahsoka Tano.
War on a distant planet. Ahsoka Tano.
Seeks information.
From the magistrate. Meanwhile, a Mandalorian with a mysterious young child seeks to find his origins and return the child home.
Well done. Got her dual white sabers like a boss.
Like a boss. Yes.
Which they weren't white the last time we saw them.
Talking about in Clone Wars? Yeah. Now, I know we saw some lore about white sabers. Can't remember what it means.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore.
Despite our best efforts, we are not nerdy enough.
No, and we haven't caught up on the final season of Clone Wars. We just finished the 6th season, which... Wow, that was really good timing.
Really good timing. Glad we did that.
Yeah, because we watched the last episode of season 6 of Clone Wars, which was Yoda going on his...
Spirit quest.
Yeah, his quest to find out how to train in order to have individuality
After death.
Manifest
his
yeah.
self.
And
Force, yeah.
I think it's great that it was very Yoda-centric
Mm-hmm.
at the end of Clone Wars season 6 and leading into this. And, I mean, it's definitely no coincidence that Disney Plus had started dropping the final Clone Wars season leading into the drop of the 2nd season of Mandalorian.
Yeah. They're like...
Ahsoka's real fresh on people's minds.
We've got a little bit of story to finish, and people are going to be... This is the time. Like,
yeah.
This is the way. People are going to be looking for it, because everybody's all about Mandalorian right now.
Yeah.
So turns out Disney's good at marketing. Who knew?
Who knew? I don't know for sure, but I think that all of the episodes for the last season of Clone Wars has dropped.
I assume so, because it was a while ago. We didn't start watching Clone Wars until season 7, wasn't like...
About to be dropped.
Yeah, it said the final season, like, around the time we started watching, so...
Yeah, which I can't even remember when we started watching. I think it was after Mandalorian. After we watched the first season of Mandalorian, we're like...
Wow, really? We got through a lot of Clone Wars during Lent, so...
Yeah. So, anyway.
It carried us through.
Yeah. So, anyway... Ahsoka, she looks old.
She looks old.
Which, by the way, I can't even remember what I had seen her in. I know I've seen Rosario Dawson and stuff. She never really impressed me much, but she does Ahsoka real well.
Yep, I was a fan. I thought she did a good job.
Yeah. I didn't hate when it was announced that she was going to be playing Ahsoka, but then I think it was mostly just like, holy shit, they're going to have Ahsoka and Mandalorian. That's freaking awesome. And I was like, Rosario Dawson, But,
yeah.
you know, I don't even know why.
You just had a natural reaction of...
But, yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah, she did. I think part of it was, we're used to young Ahsoka.
Well, yeah.
So we're like, Rosario Dawson, she's not a teenage girl.
But...
Wait, mathematics are a factor. Okay, yeah. Time passes, and she's not a Yoda, so, she ages.
Yeah.
I don't know the logistics of her species, but seems to age at maybe a little bit slower than humanity, but not by a lot.
Because the child is 50.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, okay. Getting ahead of ourselves, so let's...
Alright, let's just react here.
So...
Baby Yoda shall have the shifter knob.
It's like Isaac going for anything that's not, his toys.
Yeah.
His own water bottle. Da. Kaka. Kaka.
Yeah. He was reaching for the shifter knob, and Mando was like, no, don't touch that. You go in your seat. And
he's like...
Baby Yoda kind of...
No. Like Isaac.
No, go in your seat. And then he does. Which kind of struck me. I know he's given orders before, but... I couldn't really assess if Baby Yoda actually responded to things he was told to do. But that time he did. But then he was like, shifter knob. And he unscrewed it with the Force and was like, he
is mine now. Oh, and he used the Force to get his macarons.
He did indeed. So yeah, no, he doesn't. So Mando goes to this city that clearly is at odds with Ahsoka Tano.
Well, the magistrate is.
Right. She's laying siege to the city, essentially, and the magistrate and her army are determined to stop her, and Ahsoka's like, give me the information. Magistrate's like, are you willing to let people die for this information? Are you willing to let him die? Or 10 or 50?
100.
100, whatever. Numbers.
You're the one supposed to be good at numbers.
That's a lie. So, apparently the magistrate has, like, enslaved the city, essentially. Like,
yeah,
all the citizens.
Ahsoka's like, okay, fine.
They're suffering already.
Yeah. She's like, these people mean nothing to me. It's like, clearly.
That much is clear. So, Ahsoka continues her siege on the city, and the magistrate sends out some people to kill her, and it doesn't go well for them. So then Mando walks up because he's like, okay, I heard there's a Jedi here around this city. So he just kind of walks up to the gates. He's like, I'm just looking for a place to stay. You're a Mandalorian. Yeah. Come on in. So they let him in. He sees the enslaved people and how everybody's scared. It's basically just like a communist or fascist wasteland. One of the two, whatever. And he, like, tries to talk to some of the citizens, and they're like, don't even talk to us, don't call to attention to us. He's like, okay. And then some of the soldier guys walk up, and they say, hey, the magistrate wants to talk to you.
It's like, okay.
Okay. This is clearly a conversation I won't regret.
He's wearing his helmet, but you can see his face, like...
Yeah, the body and voice acting actually goes a long way. It can't be easy having a main character constantly with a mask on emote, but he's doing a good job.
Oh, yeah. A Buffy alum. like a one episode of Buffy, just a minor side character. I think it was like in the 4th season when she went to college. It was like
Oh, was he?
one of the first guys she came across, and then she saved him from a vampire or something.
Really?
Pedro Pascal, yeah.
Because he was the Viper in Game of Thrones, right? The guy that gets his head exploded by the mountain. Regardless. Off topic. Oh geez, they're gonna hire Mando to kill Ahsoka Witcher style. Yeah, we've been watching The Witcher, as we know.
Yeah, right.
And it seems like every time The Witcher, who is essentially kind of a bounty hunter, like, he just, you know,
Yeah.
he's hired to take care of problems, much like Mando. So every time Witcher is hired to take care of a problem or kill somebody, he, like, meets with them, and he's like, oh, I identify with your side. I'm going to turn against the people that hired me. And lo and behold, Mando does the same thing.
So now we need a Witcher versus Mando ERB.
We do, except they've already had Boba Fett. And, you know...
Yeah, but...
I know they're different
Mandalorian... But Mando... I can't remember Mando's name. But... He... I think within Star Wars lore just already has far surpassed Boba Fett in, like, awesomeness.
He has, because a lot of Boba Fett's allure was in the mystery, not allure, but I don't know, there was that certain thing, that je ne sais quoi about him. He said very little, and he was there, and, you know, there was all this mystery surrounding him. You don't see his face, but he's a badass fighter. So, and all that
Attack of the Clones pretty much killed that, but...
Yeah, well, the prequels killed a lot of good things about Star Wars. But even, you know, Return of the Jedi was like, oh man, he's so cool. And then,
But the
the
show Mandalorian seems to... They kind of hinted that they might be bringing that back around.
which makes sense because Mando, wow, Boba Fett doesn't die in the Sarlacc pit. That's canon.
Dude, I think Mandalorian has done what no other Star Wars thing has been able to do.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of people that dislike Mandalorian. There's no prequel fan splitting, Last Jedi people pissed, none of that. Like, it's just
Like,
awesomeness.
no, there's, you know, the prequel hate, the sequel hate, like, Mandalorian is bringing them all together.
Brings them all together, and maybe that's partially because they're not touching on canon too much. They reference it, but they're not changing it much. And I think that goes a long way.
Well, and it's hard, too, because what's canon?
Right. Books, movies, shows, what are you going to pull from?
I mean, Clone Wars has been really good and has really set a lot of groundwork for, especially in regards to Anakin, just making him more sympathetic.
Mm-mm.
But the last few times we've seen Anakin in Clone Wars, you kind of hate him.
You're starting to see that dark turn.
Yeah. Which, you know, you saw it in the movies, but there was so much wrong with the movies that it was really easy to dislike him.
Yeah. His actor wasn't good.
Well, right. And I think that really did him dirty insofar as your villain origin story, because you never really liked him to begin with. But Clone Wars, they did a really good job. I mean, it was animated. It wasn't, you know, the fact that they made the Anakin to Vader or the villain origin story more sympathetic through what is essentially a children's show just tells you how bad the prequels were.
Yeah, well, because as Clone Wars has shown, so much happened that impacted the change in character between Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And it was jarring when you watch one movie to the next. You're just like, okay, you're loyal to the Jedi and you're, buddies with Obi-Wan, you're his Padawan, but, you guys, you fight together, you're partners, it's cool. And then Revenge of the Sith is just like, this isn't fair, and you don't understand me. I'm going through puberty at 25. So you don't understand his bitterness.
Right.
And Clone Wars has done a really good job, and they've slow played it, but they've done a really good job of showing you why he's bitter.
Yeah. And they do a really good job of slow playing the toxicity
of the Jedi Council themselves.
Well, the Jedi Council, but of Anakin himself, too. Like, the way that he treats Padme.
Yeah.
Like, towards the end here of the 6th season, I was just like...
That's not
like, it made me
healthy.
feel sick to my stomach.
Yeah. It works really well. And she's already got the blinders on. So you actually do sympathize with her because, in just watching Revenge of the Sith, you're like, sorry, why are you with this guy? But Clone Wars played it so slowly that you do get it a bit better. Not that they do a lot with that relationship, but, you see who he was, and you see how they interacted, and then, they didn't spend a lot of time together. And then Revenge of the Sith comes along, and she thinks he's still the same guy, just maybe acting a little weird or in a mood, and it's like, no, he's fundamentally changed.
Yeah, but at the same time, in watching Clone Wars, she should have seen that coming.
She should have. And Clone Wars doesn't do Padme any favors in the removal of power from her character. Like, Padme was a good character in Phantom Menace and Clone Wars, insofar as she was a strong female character. She was a senator. She had things going for her.
And she had, I mean, in Clone Wars too. I mean, she was
the show, you mean, or the movie?
The show.
Okay.
The Clone Wars show, like, she had influence. She had power, but then it's almost like the whole trigger to this thing, and probably what led to the conception of Luke and Leia, which is kind of skeezy now when you think about it. We're so off topic here.
It's cool.
And it's late, but whatever. At the end of the 6th season of Clone Wars, Yoda's doing his thing, and there's that whole, there is another line. And we're like, first of all, that is a really cool echo to, Yoda saying that in Empire Strikes Back.
It is Empire, yeah.
But we figured, okay, but it was those cousins, those...
The
the face...
Force Phantom things.
Yeah. Said that to him, and then it was echoed back in the line, but we're like, oh. So they know now that Anakin has passed on his line. There is another Skywalker.
Right.
There's 2 others, but... So... when you consider, okay, so the conception has happened now.
Mm.
That was on the heels of Anakin being real toxic towards Padme because of her. Now, granted, the guy that she was trying to help had been a complete creeper asshole to her.
Old flame, she's trying to help him, kind of a deal.
Oh. Duh. Remember in Attack of the Clones?
Right.
When they're in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the name of it? No, it's not.
Attack of the Clones, yeah.
Yeah. When they're in the field and he's like, oh, have you ever kissed anybody? And she's like, well, there was this one boy at, like, Senator's summer camp or whatever.
Wow.
It was that guy.
Wow. You just made that connection. Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with the price of tea in China. Right now, what we're talking about, we're way off topic, but just the fact that the conception of Luke and Leia was on the heels of that whole thing.
That was like see, I'm devoted to you. It was like a makeup sex thing. Like no, he means nothing to me. This is see, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And that could have gone real Voldemort origin story.
Right? Yeah, real conceived in. It's not rape, but
But it was manipulation.
Mm.
Which makes sense because, as far as we know from Anakin's origin story, it was manipulation of midichlorians and the Force and whatever.
Sure.
Unnatural.
All right, let's get back to
Yeah,
Mandalorian,
sorry.
shall we?
Wow.
So, yeah.
Deep.
Magistrate offers him a Beskar spear. So, Mando goes to meet with the magistrate, and he's like, my price is high. He's like, I have a Jedi problem. Jedis are hard to kill. I think you can do it. I told you my price is high. And she offers him shows him a spear, and is like, what do you make of this? He holds it, wields it, smacks against his armor. Bing! It's like, this is a Beskar spear. Which we don't know a lot about this metal, but it can deflect lightsabers.
And it's highly coveted.
Highly coveted. Because she's like, this spear is pure Beskar. And everybody comments on Mando's armor, so it's clearly...
And I mean, he's been attacked for his armor.
Yeah. Went through a lot for the armor. So, so he takes the job, and he's like, so, where can I find the Jedi? Because that was his point the whole time. So he goes out, and he's chit-chatting with her lieutenant guy. He's like, looking at the child like, why do you keep that thing around? I keep it for luck. Well, you're going to need it facing off what you're after. Okay, fine. So I asked the question, will Ahsoka sense the child? Thinking, if they're going to face off, will she stop when she senses the child? Didn't quite work out that way.
No, but...
So he goes out into a field. He's looking for Ahsoka. Sets Baby Yoda down. He's like, stay here. I'm going to go look. It's like, okay.
But he doesn't actually leave. He just
He just needs to binocular around and can't have Baby Yoda in his little pouch for that, I guess. Whatever. So,
you feel betrayed?
A little. So, she appears, and they fight a little. It's whatever. She does some cool things. He ties her up with his Mandalorian wire, and it's very generic. I don't think we actually want to kill each other, but we have to prove our strength, kind of fighting, whatever. And he's like, "Wait, we need to talk." And
Like, Bo-Katan sent me.
oh yeah. Very important line that rings a bell with Ahsoka. And she looks over her shoulder and sees the child and goes, "I hope it's about him." Oh, honey. Of course it's about him. So, we cut, and they've, made camp, and we just have Ahsoka and the child sitting just staring at each other, kind of in a meditating pose. And Mando's just pacing back and forth, just, really restless. Because apparently they're having some kind of a forced conversation.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then Baby Yoda asked to be picked up by Ahsoka. Hold me. Uppies?
Uppies. Want some uppies. Yes, so she picks him up and they connect. And I don't know what the conversation was, but she's like, "Talk to Grogu." It's like, "Grogu?" She goes, "That's his name." "No, son."
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't see the hate in dropping his name. It's no worse or better than Yoda.
We got Mando's name at some point too, right?
Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
Exactly. You don't use the name.
But his reaction to Mando saying his name was so cute.
She's like, "No, call him Grogu." Grogu. This is like, "Huh?"
You love me.
I'm listening.
As you some. Oh, okay, Daddy. Mandalorian.
Which gives, some credence to the fact that, the child is 50. He has an established name and reacts to it.
Yeah. But what really interested me about this whole exchange was Ahsoka explaining to Mando what she got from Grogu.
You're my enemy now.
I'm your wife.
Exactly. You were saying?
He was hidden during the Clone Wars.
Right.
He was one of the Jedi, the younglings, that would have been executed during Order 66.
Right. He was
Yes.
training at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Yeah. So somebody, and we don't know who, hid him away, stole him, whatever.
Probably Yoda.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, Grogu, Baby Yoda, the child, whatever you want to call him, suffering from some severe PTSD.
Yes, the child has seen some shit.
Yes.
And Ahsoka brings up Yoda, because he's like, "Have you ever... I don't know if he said, have you ever seen anything like
No,
this?"
she's
or...
like, I've only ever seen one other of his species. He was a great Jedi. He was my master.
His name was Yoda. She drops the name.
And that was just like,
She said it. Oh my gosh. Because it's always kind of jarring when they actually reference canon,
because this is...
It's an outlier show.
It is. It's so canon-like, but at the same time, it's its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I love it. I love it. I love it.
And I hope they keep it on the outskirts. I like the references to canon. I don't think I want it to affect canon. I don't want it to kill Ahsoka. I don't want it to... I don't want...
Well, we already know Ahsoka dies.
Right. But that needs to be established in a different show, is what I'm saying. Mandalorian, I don't want Mandalorian to write new Star Wars canon insofar as the main thread of the movie. I want it to remain an independent show because the Star Wars universe is so expansive. It should be should break ground and be allowed to write its own stories and be unaffected by canon. If they ever go back, make a movie about X, Y, or Z, they're gonna have to work around Mandalorian if it cuts new ground.
I have something to say about that.
Okay.
But it'll be later. What were you gonna circle back to though? Because it's about here that we had started mentioning something, and then we're like, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. What the fuck was it? When we started this thing, we started mentioning something, and we're like, no, but we'll get there. And I think this is about where we would get there, and I can't remember what it was.
I don't know.
No, maybe it had to do with
Clone Wars?
oh, no. The child starting to listen to Mando.
Right, okay. Because, yeah, he ordered him back in his seat, and the child actually listened to him.
Yeah. And, okay, so, okay. I'm not quite there, but I'm getting there. So, Ahsoka's like... So Mando tells Ahsoka, I was told to bring him to a Jedi. You need to train him.
Right.
And she's like, we'll wait until morning because he's falling asleep, whatever. So they start their training, and Baby Yoda, child, whatever, is none of it.
He's not feeling it.
No. But Mando brings out the shifter ball.
Because Ahsoka says, let me try something. Come over here. Mando's like, that's not going to work. He doesn't listen. She's like, no, I'm talking to you. Okay. He walks over. She's like, you hold out the stone. Tell him to take it.
And he's like, no.
Yeah, Mando's like, take the stone. Take the stone, kid. She goes, Grogu. And Mando's rejection of the name is all of us. He's like, Grogu. Take the stone. And he did take the stone from Ahsoka. And she asked for it back. And
he's
he
like,
went,
no.
No.
I don't want
I don't want to. So that's when she tells Mando to try. And she's like, he responds to you. Connect with him. And that's when Mando goes, he pulls out the shifter knob. Hey, kid. Hey, this is what you want, right? Take it. And
he's like, my
yes.
mouth. And yet the child has formed a very strong bond with Mando, and Mando with the child.
And so we get the classic speech. Jedi bullshit about attachments. I cannot teach him. He's too attached. Blah, blah, blah.
And I think the whole thing with the shifter ball is, I think that the child did understand what was going on. he recognized the fact that the reason why they were there was ultimately for Mando to give him to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want that. That's why he took the shifter ball.
Probably. Yeah. And I guess, I mean, in that way, Ahsoka maybe had a point with the whole attachment thing. It was just like... We've just heard that speech so many times.
Yeah. And, he is a child. He might be 50 years old, but in his species years, he's, like, still very, very young.
Right.
2 or 3, maybe.
Anakin was too young when he was 9, but then they taught him. And then Luke was too young when he was 17, and then they taught him. It's just like...
I think it's more dangerous, though, for a being that young. Because they don't understand. Now, because they don't understand, like, try telling Isaac that he can't have an attachment to mommy and daddy.
Well, then what's the Jedi's deal? Is it too young or too old?
Well, here's the thing, though, and she said it. He was training. And then Order 66 went down. I don't think it's so much his age as it is PTSD, and he's just reverted. And he's suppressed
His training.
This is not that he's too old or whatever. He's
Emotionally scarred?
He's emotionally scarred.
Okay. So, they crack a deal. Because she doesn't want to, but he's like, this is why I'm here. This was my task. I found a Jedi. It's like, alright, well, if I help you, you train him. So they start formulating a plan against the magistrate, whose name is Morgan Elspa.
Who, based on what Ahsoka said, I'm sure we saw that origin story in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It was her entire
People
was
massacred.
Yeah. So, can't really blame her, honestly.
Oh. What have you done?
Of course, then she went off and destroyed worlds, so...
So, not a great reaction. So, the Mandalorian and the Jedi, and they had a nice little Mandalorian teaming up with the Jedi kind of moment.
But at the same time, you're like, but Ahsoka's been through this before, so...
Yeah, she's cool with Mandalorians, as we saw with Bo-Katan. So, together they...
Bo-Katan and the kid, the boy,
Sure, who...
Not boy, but
He was Mandalorian,
son.
but wasn't, like, a warrior. He didn't wear the armor or anything like that.
No, he was the son of the Mandalorian senator who sided with the...
Night Watch.
No, well, he did, but his mom sided with... the Imperialists?
Something like that, yeah.
She was on the other side of Padme's side,
Right.
but they were still good friends.
Right. Some nice little crossing the borders friendship there. You love to see it. Anyway, so they assault the city. There's some cool action scenes with Ahsoka doing some classic lightsabering in a very Star Wars limited death sort of a way. Like, there's Ahsoka, soldier, and then like a piece of scenery, and the shot is it's shot from behind the piece of scenery, and you see this lightsaber go through the piece of scenery, and then the body falls. You know, it's very Clone Wars in that way. Like, how are you going to avoid death and gore in a show with, you know, lightsabers? Through cinematography, mostly. And they, I don't know, it harkened back to fight scenes in Clone Wars really, really well. They did a good job with the jumping around and the Jedi effects, with the flipping and the jumping and all of that.
You didn't get quite the same punch that you got with watching the animated Ahsoka, but it works because Ahsoka's older.
And also, animated Ahsoka was not that violent.
Right.
She did what had to be done, but it was more against droids. You didn't see her cutting down a lot of people.
But shit has happened.
Shit has happened.
So.
And it was shot in a way that would be less traumatizing to their target audience. So, nice to see some Jedi lightsabering, memories of Clone Wars.
She held her lightsaber backward. That
yes,
was awesome.
She had a nice fight with the magistrate, with the Belkar spear that can deflect lightsabers. So they had a good duel with it. She had one of her lightsabers knocked out of her hand, and she flipped the lightsaber so it was facing backwards. A very Ahsoka Tano way. Well done. And she disarms the magistrate and demands to know where the magistrate's master is.
Right.
And, also, going back a couple paces here, when Ahsoka walked into the city after she and Mando made their deal, she tossed a piece of Mando's armor, like, your bounty hunters failed, you know, this is my trophy. And you're just like, is he going to get his shoulder plate back?
I think he is.
I assume he did. So then, she's facing off with the magistrate. Mando's facing off with, you know, random lieutenant guy. And they're having a very Wild West showdown. Very, very cool. And, soldier guy was like, you and I are a lot alike, willing to lay down our lives for the right cause, which this is not. So, it was a nice line to kind of diffuse the situation and be like, we're both working for a couple of crazy ladies who are fighting over there. Like, are we going to kill ourselves over this? Like, let's be cool here. And so he goes to lay down his weapon and sees Mando take his hand off his gun. And Lieutenant Guy gets a big grin on his face, like, ha 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 ha! And reaches for his gun, and Mando just Han Solo's his ass.
So old Western. Love
Classic.
it. So then we cut back to Ahsoka and the magistrate. And she says, where is your master? Where is Admiral Thrawn? Which we didn't know anything about because that was Rebels. Star Wars Rebels animated series was where Thrawn really was the focal point.
I guess. I learned about Thrawn in 2004 when I met Ben.
Okay,
He's big in the... Thrawn is a big part of the Expanded Universe books.
I hadn't heard of him until the series that shall not be named.
Mm-hmm. And
because they pissed me off. They did call it, but they're gonna dead name. I'm gonna dead name.
Ooh. So, yes, Admiral Thrawn is a big deal.
Oh shit!
the fact that he's going to be in this series is fucking awesome. Can't wait. So, they overthrow the city. They free the slaves, or the tortured people, whatever.
The, citizens.
The citizens of the city. One that Mando had interacted with was made the magistrate. Good for him. We're happy.
Because he helped.
He helped Mando.
He was gonna go just release people, and then he saw Mando.
Mm.
And Mando's like,
"We're cool. Let's free your people." So, yay.
real Moses vibes there.
Yeah.
Let my people go.
So Ahsoka is holding the spear and kind of talking to Mando, and she's like, "This was your payment." And he's like, "I didn't do the job."
She's like, "But this belongs to your people."
Yeah, this is Mando.
Real respect.
Yes.
Loved that. Because, hey, you can find common ground with your enemy, and maybe your enemy isn't really your enemy, especially when you have a common enemy.
And we don't know what happened to the magistrate, by the way.
No.
So that's kind of interesting. So she gives him the spear, and she's like, "Where's your little friend?" And he kind of, I don't know, there was some nice voice acting. His voice didn't crack, but he's like, I'll go get him. He's back in the ship. So he goes back to the ship to retrieve Baby Yoda to give him to Ahsoka for training. And picks him up. He's like, "Come on, buddy. It's time to go." He called him buddy, and I cry on the inside. But Ahsoka cuts him off in the ship, and she's like, "I can't train him." Well, we had a deal. And
There is a way.
yeah, she didn't really explain why she couldn't, but it was kind of implied. And she just says, there might be a way he could be trained. Go to the planet Krygon, which I believe is where the ancient Jedi temple is. It's like, there's a temple there. It's very strong with the Jedi. Bring him to the top of the temple, and maybe a Jedi will reach out.
What if it ends up being Rey?
How does the timing work on that, though?
Well, we don't know exactly. But as far as we know right now, what other Jedi are out there aside from Ahsoka? And we know from The Last Jedi that Ahsoka is dead. Or could it be Leia?
Luke and Leia, at this point, are...
They're not dead. Oh, no.
But A New Hope hasn't happened yet.
No, this is between
Oh,
Return of the Jedi and
Force Awakens.
yeah.
Right, you're right, I'm sorry.
So no, maybe not Rey, but you had your video list or whatever, and there was one. I don't think it was one you tagged or anything, but it was. Did we see a reference to Luke in the last Mandalorian episode? Right, because remember, Luke starts a school again.
He does.
He starts training.
He does.
So not Rey.
Luke.
Luke. We're gonna have like another Luke, Boba Fett, Baby Yoda Ah!
Oh, jeez.
Oh, and yeah, really think about it. Ahsoka was what, like 16, 17, and she was training with Anakin.
Mm.
And at this point, Luke has already defeated the Empire. His father is already dead. Anakin's already dead.
Yeah. Luke's in his late
So-
20s by Return of the Jedi. We don't know how much time has passed since then, but
So Ahsoka looks really freaking good.
yeah. Yeah. A lot more time has passed than I realized. Huh.
So figure she was maybe 19, maybe 20 when Luke and Leia were conceived. Nah, maybe even more like 18.
In her species years.
So by this point, Luke has already defeated the Empire. When we saw him in New Hope, he was what, like 17? About Ahsoka's age when we first met her ish.
Yeah.
So he's 20.
Mid to late 20s by the end of Return of the Jedi.
So by this point, he's got to be in his 30s, which put Ahsoka in her
Between 50 and 60. If she was 20 when he was
Let's just say
conceived,
she's 20 when he was conceived.
and he's in his 30s now. So she's between 50 and 60.
She looks good.
Yeah. She's doing okay for herself.
Yeah. So.
So yeah.
A lot of lore, a lot of...
She went through Order 66, but
But she wasn't a Jedi.
She wasn't a Jedi. And by the end of Return of the Jedi, he hasn't started trying to resurrect the Jedi yet, but it can't happen that much later.
Well, and figure when we saw in what was the one between Force Awakens and The Last Jedi? Right? No, it was The Last Jedi and then Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
Sorry. Totally had that wrong the whole time I was talking about that.
Okay.
So when we saw him in The Last Jedi, I mean, he looked old when he started the school.
Because we had that flashback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was, Mark Hamill.
Sure.
So, whatever. Take that with a grain of salt. But, no. I bet the Jedi that finds him is Luke.
Now, this is a live-action show. They can't have Luke without it being Mark Hamill. I don't know,
They can do a
man.
lot with post-production. I mean, remember Rise of Skywalker, what they did with Leia?
Yeah. Yeah. They made that happen.
Or it's Leia that finds him. And they bring back her, Carrie Fisher's daughter.
Mm.
Maybe do a little post-production, but...
Billy Lord has played Leia before. Interesting. That could be cool. Again, it'd be interesting to see them bring in some OG actors from the main canon timeline. Alright, this video's gone way too long.
Yeah.
And I need bed. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.